When that mysterious clip of 50 Cent dropped, the internet didn't just react, it combusted. Phones overheated like they'd been left on a stove. Comment sections shattered. Algorithms screamed. Because in 28 seconds of grainy footage, 50 casually tossed a verbal grenade that left Jay-Z, Diddy, and half the music industry looking like they'd been caught in a spotlight they didn't request. Nothing graphic, nothing explicit, just one loaded sentence, one crooked smirk, and a mischievous tone that said, "I know something, and I'm deciding whether to say it." People froze the clip frame by frame like conspiracy analysts reviewing UFO files. They slowed down his blink, decoded lip movements, dissected the angle of his eyebrow, and swore those few words hinted at a secret powerful enough to warp hip-hop history. TikTok attorneys demanded subpoenas. Media outlets pretended to stay neutral while stuffing headlines with shock bait. Even neutral fans were hyperventilating like they'd witnessed the Pentagon leak, because 50 didn't sound like a random troll. He sounded like a man who walked through every hidden door, heard every whispered rumor, and just flashed a teaser trailer by accident. And the internet cracked open with one question that refused to die. What did 50 Cent mean? And why did Jay-Z and Diddy look nervous? When that clip of 50 Cent surfaced, the world stopped scrolling like someone slammed the brakes on civilization. It was short, fuzzy, and barely audible, yet somehow nuclear. 50 leaned back, smirked with that infamous "I know something you don't" expression, and tossed a casual sentence that detonated the internet. Funny how some folks run the whole room, but pretend they ain't even in it. He never said names, but every syllable reeked of Jay-Z, Diddy, and an industry machine stitched with secrets. People reacted like they'd overheard a forbidden spell, because 50 didn't speak like a man gossiping. He spoke like someone who's been at private tables, seen the unfiltered contracts, heard the backdoor deals, and decided to sprinkle breadcrumbs without fully committing. Listeners replayed the audio until their headphones begged for mercy. Some swore they heard him whisper "rock," others claimed they heard "bad boy," and one unhinged Twitter thread argued the eye twitch on his left lid confirmed he meant both men at once. The world plunged into decoding madness, and hip-hop fans became investigators fueled by chaos, caffeine, and 15-second screen recordings. At first, most people assumed the clip was bait with no deeper meaning. Just 50 doing what he does best, stirring entertainment stew. But then, the camera caught his expression a millisecond after the comment. His smile thinned. His eyes shifted like a man remembering a file folder he shouldn't have opened. That tiny micro-reaction gave birth to legends. Suddenly, the internet wasn't debating if he meant Jay-Z and Diddy, they were debating how deep it went, how long he's known, and what kind of empire could be built on secrets no one dares speak. The mystery suffocated other trending topics instantly. Jay-Z and Diddy couldn't escape the narrative. Screenshots of their stoic faces at award shows resurfaced as proof. Fans claimed they were tense all along, hiding something monumental. Conspiracy comments sprouted overnight. Diddy runs the stage. Jay runs the chessboard. 50's hinting at an invisible regime. They built an empire that we only see the surface of. Nobody had evidence. But internet outrage thrives on imagination. And this storyline tasted too delicious to let facts ruin it. The strangest part was how believable the theory felt. These were not amateurs. Jay-Z, the silent architect with more business threads than a billionaire's tailor, and Diddy, the king of reinvention who can multiply relevance like a scientific experiment. Together, they were the perfect targets for a whispered implication of hidden influence. And 50 knew that. He didn't accuse, he implied. An implication spreads quicker than wildfire because people can pour their own fears and fantasies into the gaps. For decades, the industry whispered about private summits, million-dollar closed-door deals, and quiet agreements that shaped careers long before the public even knew an artist's name. So when 50 dropped that bomb, people didn't just wonder if it was real. They assumed it was. They wanted it to be. They wanted a cinematic revelation, two titans in a smoke-filled room dividing the culture like a modern-day Senate. Silence from Jay and Diddy only intensified suspicion, giving the internet permission to feast. The clip pushed fans into forensic mode. They dug up old interviews, replayed speeches, combed through body language on red carpets, and created insane charts linking major industry moments to Jay and Diddy's business peaks. A theory emerged claiming that the two moguls had quietly influenced label politics, radio rotation, and which artists were allowed to flourish. TikTok analysts connected every strange career freeze, sudden blacklist, mysterious promotion, and odd collaboration back to the same question: are Jay-Z and Diddy the invisible gatekeepers 50 is hinting at? The madness snowballed with no speed limits. Online detectives didn't stop there. They dissected financial documents, news clippings, even background music choices at events. One viral clip claimed the lighting at a Rock Nation brunch symbolized hierarchy. Another insisted Diddy's laugh at a previous awards show was coded power. Someone swore the placement of Jay-Z's watch during a press photo was subliminal symbolism. Internet culture went so delusional it practically invented its own religion. And 50 Cent's original smirk hovered over everything like the ghost of chaos. The funniest part: 50 knew exactly what he did. He dropped the comment like a fisherman throws bait into shark-infested water, sat back, and watched the world chew itself into confetti. He didn't clarify, didn't deny, didn't apologize. He reposted memes, fanned flames with cryptic emojis, and responded to questions with that dark chuckle that makes people believe every conspiracy ever written. When fans begged him to elaborate, he responded with "they know what they did." And that was the gasoline the internet never needed but always wanted. Reactions from celebrities tore through the timeline like gossip grenades. Some pretended neutrality while clearly loving the chaos. Rapper commentary podcasts jumped online instantly, doing 20-minute monologues about industry pyramids and silent partnerships. One comedian joked that Jay-Z's chessboard just lost a night. Sports pages posted half-serious theories about mogul influence on halftime shows. Radio hosts asked callers to vote on whether 50 was exposing truth or acting petty for sport. And every reaction, whether serious or silly, fed the fire. Then came the moment that made the controversy immortal. Diddy and Jay-Z were both seen at separate events the same week, and neither addressed the clip. Reporters yelled questions. Both ignored them with stone-carved composure. That silence was interpreted as guilt. Nobody considered the possibility that the moguls simply didn't care. The narrative was already set. If they spoke, they looked defensive. If they stayed quiet, they looked exposed. Public imagination built a trap impossible to escape. Fandom wars erupted. 50's loyalists called him the only fearless truth teller left. Jay-Z's supporters accused 50 of stirring jealousy disguised as insight. Diddy fans screamed about hardened respect and unbreakable legacy. Bloggers and shade rooms sat in the middle with popcorn, cashing in on the engagement boost of a lifetime. Entire social feeds became battlegrounds where strangers hurled dissertations at each other over industry puppeteering theories. 50 Cent's clip mutated into a cultural monster breeding arguments at the speed of rage. Memes spiraled from funny to brutal. One graphic portrayed 50 ripping a mask off Jay-Z, revealing a secret control panel. Another turned Diddy into the Wizard of Oz behind a curtain. It wasn't just comedy, it was suspicion disguised as entertainment. People laughed, but they watched too closely. They joked, but they squinted for clues. Because deep down, everyone loves the idea that the rich, powerful, and untouchable are hiding bigger stories underneath the surface. 50 delivered that fantasy on a silver platter. Every conspiracy wave needs gas, and public outrage provided a full tank. Fans demanded answers that no one owed them. Comment threads were full of arguments about loyalty, morals, legacy, and whether hip-hop's most iconic moguls were heroes or puppeteers. Folks pulled in decades-old tension, beef rumors, and business rumors that had been dead for years. 50's reputation as the king of antagonizing became the main source of credibility. If he hinted at something explosive, people believed there had to be smoke at minimum, if not a forest fire. Meanwhile, TikTok narrators spoke with hushed tones like bedtime horror storytellers. They framed 50 as the one man brave enough to say what insiders whisper. They credited him with exposing the shadows. Even fans who doubted the theory agreed the clip felt too intentional to be harmless. When someone as calculated as 50 Cent speaks vaguely, every vague word turns into a riddle, and people online love nothing more than solving a mystery that might not even exist. Social media treated the moment like a national treasure map. Journalists began circling the speculation too. Some tried to dismiss it as internet hysteria. Others pretended to stay objective while squeezing suspicion angles into every headline. Articles titled 50 Ignites Hidden Industry Questions or Is There More to the Story? Racked up millions of reads. The more mainstream attention it got, the more people assumed something was being covered up. Because news outlets never touch rumors unless they secretly smell value. And once they touched this one, the clip transformed from trend to testimony in the public mind. Fan edits became cinematic. They layered ominous music under the clip, zoomed into 50's eye movements, slowed his smirk into a dramatic crescendo, and paired his words with flashes of Jay-Z and Diddy at boardrooms, red carpets, philanthropy events, and power summits. The narrative shifted from funny viral moment to coded whistleblow. It gained myth status, speculative, exaggerated, yet convincing enough to look like truth if you squinted with social media-trained vision. The strangest twist arrived when old interviews resurfaced where 50 joked about moguls running invisible ladders. At the time, nobody cared, but in context, fans lost their sanity. Suddenly, those interviews were warnings from the past. Entire YouTube essays formed overnight, analyzing business alliances, historic collaborations, court filings, and the structure of label politics. Some creators sounded scholarly, others sounded deranged, but all spoke with conviction because once a rumor feels cinematic, the audience treats it like prophecy. Even celebrity bystanders couldn't avoid the storm. Former collaborators, producers, journalists, ex-employees, distant connections all flooded with DMs. People begged them to spill anything, even crumbs. A random security guard interview from 2012 resurfaced as evidence. Some swore 50 was avenging old business grudges. Others insisted he was protecting art integrity. Every side was convinced their theory was fact. And since none of the moguls clarified, every theory sounded equally possible. The silence became its own scandal. By the end of week 1, the narrative had mutated from speculation into cultural folklore. The internet convinced itself that behind closed doors, Jay-Z and Diddy controlled unspoken hierarchies, and 50's clip was the forbidden spark revealing it. Whether it was truth, exaggeration, or pure trolling didn't matter. People believed it because belief made the world feel dramatic. And nothing pulls engagement like mystery wrapped in ego, legacy, and billionaire tension. 50 fed the public a sentence. The public turned it into scripture. And in the chaos, Jay-Z and Diddy's pristine images shifted. Not negatively, just mysteriously. Every powerful face looks more intimidating when the world suspects they might be guarding undisclosed corridors. And 50 knew that too. He didn't need to expose anything real. All he needed was to sound like a man who could. That alone was scandal fuel. That alone broke the internet. Because when power meets ambiguity, the world always assumes the story is darker than what's visible. 50 didn't break the truth. He broke perception. And perception is the most fragile currency in celebrity history. As time passed, the clip didn't fade. It evolved. What started as a cryptic comment mutated into an unspoken shift in how the world viewed power. Jay-Z and Diddy were no longer just moguls, they became silhouettes backed by myth. Every business move now looked suspicious. Every silent appearance felt strategic. Every moment of composure became proof that the two giants were dodging invisible spotlights. And 50 Cent? He stood on the sidelines watching the narrative spin like a carousel he'd built with a single smirk. Viewers swore the industry changed overnight. People started re-examining contracts, artist partnerships, and music trends, insisting they could see fingerprints where they never looked before. Even innocent coincidences became part of the conspiracy blueprint. A label signing aligned with a project that aligned with a sponsorship that aligned with a brunch. Suddenly, it all pointed back to the same question. Were Jay-Z and Diddy running more strings than anybody realized? The theory became entertainment, obsession, paranoia, and cultural theater all at once. But consequences ripple faster than rumors. Brands avoided statements. Publicists triple-checked messaging. Artists began dodging questions like the words themselves were mines. Nobody wanted to be the next accidental proof. And while Jay-Z and Diddy kept walking like nothing touched them, that same calm posture only made the rumor look stronger. They didn't panic, and that terrified people more. True power, after all, doesn't flinch. Some fans pleaded with 50 to clear the air, convinced the world was spiraling too far. He didn't. Every time he opened his mouth, he fed confusion intentionally. When asked in an interview if the clip meant what people thought, he laughed again. "I said what I said. Nothing more disruptive than that." A vague sentence that sounded casual on the surface and lethal underneath. His refusal to elaborate became the oxygen that kept the entire blaze alive. Meanwhile, the mogul's reputation split into two opposing legends. To some, they looked like darker masterminds behind an empire too big to reveal. To others, they looked like geniuses unfairly dragged into a conspiracy made from scraps of speculation. But both sides agreed on one thing: the clip made them feel larger than life again. Mysterious, untouchable, iconic. In an era where fame gets routine, the scandal turned Jay-Z and Diddy into dramatic figures from a Shakespeare tale wearing billion-dollar suits. A strange energy moved through the culture. Every public sighting of them became symbolic. If Jay-Z smiled, commentators swore it meant victory. If Diddy looked serious, analysts claimed it meant panic. Their faces became screens where fans projected fantasies they couldn't let go of. It didn't matter what they actually felt. The myth had already overpowered reality. And in the digital age, myth always wins. Eventually, the rumors seeped into deeper corners, business circles, music seminars, interview questions whispered instead of spoken. People weren't asking if the clip meant something. They were asking how much it revealed. Whether the moguls were offended, amused, or planning retaliation. Theories of silent tension between them spread too. If they were allies, did the clip shake that bond? If they were rivals, did 50 unintentionally sharpen that rivalry? Internet imagination brewed endless variations, and none of them needed confirmation to feel real. Industry veterans chimed in privately. Some hinted 50 Cent's remarks sounded like knowing grin energy shared only by insiders who've seen enough to speak cryptically. Others dismissed it as typical entertainment posturing. But none dared to publicly shut down the myth, because what if the speculation was profitable? Scandal drives attention. Attention feeds legacy. And legacy sits comfortably on the shoulders of giants who don't explain themselves. Jay-Z and Diddy stayed statues, and the statues looked legendary. As days turned into weeks, the cultural aftermath sharpened. The world rediscovered the thrill of mystery. The sensation of believing something bigger lurked behind curtains. The intoxicating idea that moguls move in coded silence. People love feeling like they're peeking into chambers they don't belong in. 50 gave them a keyhole. They invented the door. And the story now lives in its own ecosystem, self-sustaining, self-spreading. And 50 Cent, he walked away untouched. The clip made him look like the ultimate insider, the one man who knew where the real bones were buried. It put a spotlight on his voice, his influence, and his access. Whether he said the truth or simply played puppeteer didn't matter. The fact that the world believed him made him the most dangerous figure in the room. Power isn't speaking loudly, it's speaking softly and watching the world scream on your behalf. Jay-Z and Diddy remained historical pillars through it all. Their silence became oxygen for the myth and armor against it simultaneously. They didn't issue denials, threaten lawsuits, or drop interviews, because when you've built an empire out of unbreakable branding, rumors can't fracture you. They simply sharpen your outline. And the outline these two carried looked like kings who could walk through storms without getting wet. By the time dust finally settled, everyone realized 50 Cent had exposed something, not truth, but vulnerability. The world is addicted to mystery. The world wants powerful men to have secret rooms. The world loves the suspicion that greatness is built on negotiations we'll never see. Whether Jay-Z and Diddy truly run unseen levers didn't matter. The possibility alone electrified culture. And thanks to that single clip, the music industry hasn't looked the same since. Two moguls became walking question marks, and a smirk from 50 Cent became the spark that lit the legend. And the most haunting part, he never needed to say another word. The myth will live forever because truth died the moment imagination tasted something more exciting. People don't want clarity, they want spectacle. They want whispers. They want the idea that somewhere at the top of the cultural pyramid, Jay-Z and Diddy sit behind a chessboard while the rest of the world debates what pieces they move. 50's clip didn't reveal anything factual. It revealed how badly the masses want mysteries to be real, and that is why the moment refuses to die. The clip broke the internet not because it was explosive, but because it hinted at explosions the world secretly craves. If you're still here, eyes wide, brain rewired, questioning everything you thought you knew about hip-hop royalty, congratulations, you just survived digital speculation at its loudest. But don't bottle that energy. Drop your theories below like coded messages at midnight. Was 50 exposing hidden alliances? Mocking invisible power? Throwing darts at billionaires for sport? Or did we all just witness a masterclass in chaos engineering? Let the comment section split in two because that's where the real entertainment happens. And while you're down there, wreck that like button like it owes you reparations. Beat it like it borrowed money and disappeared. If your pulse ran faster, if your eyebrow twitched, if you replayed this clip even once in your head, then you know there's more where that came from. Scandals don't sleep. Power games don't rest. And cryptic sentences from icons are basically ticking cultural grenades. So stay plugged in. Subscribe like you're signing into a secret society. Turn notifications on like you're waiting for the next encrypted drop. Because history already proved one thing: the moment someone in this industry hints at shadows, the world stops, listens, and spirals. And trust me, another whisper, another clip, another eyebrow raise is always lurking around the corner. Until then, stay restless, stay suspicious, and stay ready, because the next shockwave is already loading.